Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting for October 27th, 2025. I'd look for a mover and a seconder to call the meeting to order. Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. All those in favour, and that carries unanimously. I'll turn it over to Councillor Wilkinson for our land acknowledgement, please.
We have gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples, and we want to acknowledge the importance of the Dishes One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and Mother Earth. We should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community.
Thank you. We do have two additions to our agenda. We have a specific interest delegation later on this evening, as well as we do have an updated bylaw, just an amendment to reflect the resolution. So I'd be looking for an adoption of the agenda as amended for October 27th. Moved by Councillor Sadhu, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favour? That carries unanimously. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest, councillors? Seeing none, we do have minutes from our September 29th regular meeting, October 6th Committee of the Whole, and October 6th Special Council meeting. I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder to adopt. Moved by Councillor Sadhu, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. All those in favour? That carries unanimously. We do have two presentations this evening, and each of our guests will have up to 10 minutes to speak. Our first one, I will invite up Patrick Gilbride, the Executive Director of REAP Green Solutions, to present to Council on REAP Green Solutions' 25th Anniversary Report. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Okay, let's start the clock. Good evening, Mayor Salonen, councillors and staff. I'm very pleased to be here tonight to share with you our most recent impact report and some of the stories from Wilmot residents and from people across the region. You can go to the next, please. This year marks a special milestone for us, as you just mentioned. It's our 25th year of these types of reports. 25 years represents an entire generation's worth of impact, which is all the more important since we know that the decisions that we make today will resonate for many generations to come. Next, please. It's in that spirit that we're celebrating the myriad of accomplishments that you can see on the slide there, accomplished by people in the community over the past 25 years. It's this legacy which gives us hope that we can carry forward the necessary momentum in order to catalyze the very necessary energy transition, to planting trees, to flood-proofing entire neighborhoods. Next, please. Jamie, who you can see with his family, is a great example of someone making to make that energy transition. By installing a hybrid heat pump system, he's migrating his family's energy consumption away from gas to electricity. But with the recent cancellation of the federal carbon tax, Jamie chose wisely to also install solar panels at the same time to offset that additional cost. We're finding that's becoming a more and more common pairing of installing heat pumps with solar panels. Next, please. Between 2023 and 2024, based on analysis done by Green Communities Canada, half of the heat pumps installed in Ontario were undersized. Many contractors don't have all the information that they need in order to make an informed recommendation on the size of a heat pump, which often leads to a one-size-fits-all scenario. With a little extra work, when we're at people's homes performing an energy evaluation, we can do that work to analyze a home's HVAC capacity and the electrical load requirements to make sure that those heat pumps are sized properly. Next, please. The wildfires that we've experienced across Canada over the past year are a stark reminder of the need to adapt to extreme weather conditions. Through our Healthy Yards program, we work with homeowners to use nature as a way to make our neighborhoods more resilient to the risk of flooding. With our Rain Smart Neighborhoods program, we take a targeted approach to focus this work in where it's needed the most in priority neighborhoods. And by enhancing the capacity of the existing stormwater infrastructure, these neighborhoods will better be able to manage flood risk and improve water quality at the same time. Water quality is of particular importance in our community as we draw upwards of 80% of our drinking water from our groundwater. To protect this precious resource, we work with the region of Waterloo on a program to work with property managers to reduce their salt use for winter maintenance purposes. So our popular backyard tree program continued into last year. It's our 6th year of running that program, and it's been enormously successful. But we recognize that the importance that the many benefits that trees provide are not shared equally amongst our community. So we launched a pilot phase of what we call our community canopy program in the Chandler Mowat neighborhood of Kitchener, which is a low canopy neighborhood, but also an equity deserving neighborhood, to plant trees where they're needed the most. And we partnered with the city, where we planted trees in people's yards, and they planted trees in public spaces, boulevards, parks, and the like. And we know that as these trees grow and mature, that it'll transform those neighborhoods over time. Our native tree nursery is now producing 10,000 saplings per year, all grown from locally collected seed. 42 different volunteers gave over 280 hours of their time to grow and distribute trees over the past year. Some of our most prolific seed collectors being from the Wilmot Hort Society and Let's Tree Wilmot. Starting this fall, inspired by work done by Trees for Woolwich in Woolwich Township, we are teaming up with the region and the townships of Wellesley and Wilmot to expand the roadside tree planting program. We've secured funding from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for this work, and we're planting 4,000 trees in Wilmot, 9,000 over the next 2 years. 50% of those costs will be in Wilmot will be covered by the region of Waterloo, and the other 50% comes from the grant that I just mentioned. Next, please. We co-lead Climate Action WR with Sustainable Waterloo Region and all of our area municipalities, including the Township of Wilmot. And most recently, we launched the With You We Can campaign because we know that people need an on-ramp in order to start their sustainability journey. So trying to meet people where they're at and provide them with the local resources that they need. Next, please. In terms of our financials, as expected, we saw a significant decline in our fee-for-service revenue. That's because of the federal Greener Homes grant closing out. So we lost a lot of the revenue that we charge for doing energy evaluations. But fortunately, we did have retained earnings, and we've invested that in new program areas like the heat pump right-sizing service that I mentioned. And finally, we just say thank you to all of our partners, Township of Wilmot being an important one. And as you can see, those are listed here are our core funders, of which I know Innova and the region of Waterloo are partnered with Wilmot. So even though your logo is not there, you're still up there. And just to finish off, just want to take the opportunity to say special thanks to the people from Wilmot who we get to work with all year long, and specifically David Klein and Adam Hergot, who will be working on that roadside planting project that I mentioned, as well as another shout out to Let's Tree Wilmot and the Nith Valley Eco Boosters, among others. So I'll yield the rest of my time and happy to take any questions that there are.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Cressman.
Yes, looking at your expenses, you have stormwater management at 24.8, and so I'm wondering what that includes.
Yeah, so that was the Rain Smart Neighborhoods program that I mentioned in terms of working with homeowners to use landscape solutions and other things like rainwater harvesting to reduce the amount of stormwater that runs off their properties. Predominantly we do that work in Kitchener, but also we do work with City of Guelph, who has a stormwater utility fee in place as well. Certainly we're talking to City of Waterloo and City of Cambridge. City of Cambridge just brought in their own stormwater fee. So that's those types of programs, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with my usual question that we don't capture in your summary what happens in rural areas, and I'm conversant with that, of the mitigation that occurs in the watershed with conservation tillage, with no-till. We know that the Rural Water Quality Program plants trees along stream banks and keeps cattle out of streams. So I would suggest there's a greater, that there's another piece of the pie that somehow I wish we could get included in this to show the concerted efforts of both urban and rural communities.
Yeah.
That's just my axe to grind.
And we're
every
certainly,
year.
we capture the programs that we specifically work on. We're partnered with City of Kitchener. We're more than happy to look at partnering with the townships on that work, and certainly we're talking to the GRCA with us doing that roadside planting project to make sure that we're doing a coordinated effort, which many of the benefits do include stormwater management benefits, as you mentioned.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Martin.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for your report, and I have used REAP in the past year for an evaluation of my house and to help get advice for a heat pump, and that was a fee for service, and so I appreciated that, and so thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for your patronage.
Any other questions, councillors? Seeing none, thank you again, Patrick, for making the time to come this evening and present, and we look forward to continuing to work with your group.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks. And we have one more presentation this evening, and that is the Waterloo Region Immigration Program. I believe you guys have quite a little group today, so I will let you come up and introduce yourselves to council, and you will also have 10 minutes. So thank you for joining us.
Ready to start? Okay. Through the chair. Thank you for having us. My name is Dr. Ernest Osei, and I'm pleased to be here this evening as part of the KW Immigration Partnership Council delegation. I'm joined by a number of IPC colleagues representing United Way, House of Friendship, and members of the business community. In addition to our delegation, I hope Council has had the opportunity to review the information included in your Council package, which provide more background and data on our work. We are here this evening to share a bit about the work of the Immigration Partnership, to introduce the new regional immigration strategy, and to speak to the importance of continual investment in immigration work across the Waterloo region, including here in Wilmot Township. Immigration has always been the heart of growth in Waterloo region. Our communities from Kitchener and Waterloo to our rural townships have been built and enriched by immigrants. The last census showed that more than a quarter of our regional population are permanent immigrants, with many more temporary residents. Here in this Wilmot Township, immigrants account for about 10.4% of the population, a number that continues to rise as more newcomers are choosing to settle in our rural communities. Immigration is now the single biggest driver of population and labor force growth, and will be the key to reaching the region's milestone of 1 million residents. Now, just a bit background of the Immigration Partnership. The partnership has been operating for 16 years, building on the earlier work of the Waterloo Region Immigrant Employment Network, which focus on helping local businesses meet their talent needs through immigration. We are a small team consisting of about 4.5 full-time staff, but we engage nearly 70 organizations and 120 individuals across sectors including social, settlement services, education, health and mental health care, business, government, cultural, and faith groups. Together, we support the successful settlement of more than 10,000 newcomers each year, helping them find housing, access health care, and to connect to employment and community life. I will just highlight on a few recent contributions of IP. We created the Workplace Immigrant Network, which has helped more than 850 newcomers find work or access further training and credentialing. We led initiatives to secure about $2 million in new funding during major refugee events, including the Syria and Ukraine responses. We are currently leading a rural township initiative in partnership with Waterloo Wellington Community Futures, Wilmot Community Health Center, Interfaith Community Counseling, Engage Rural, and others to build more welcoming communities and support international agri-food workers and the employments who rely on them. And finally, we provide detailed data and analysis about newcomers, helping municipalities and service organizations design effective programs and informing all levels of government and policy makers. The Immigration Partnership is proud to collaborate with communities like Wilmot. As immigration continues to shape the future of this region, we look forward to working with Council and local partners to ensure that Wilmot remains a welcoming, thriving place for all residents, both long-time and newly arrived. Through the Chair, now I will invite my colleague Tracy Harry to introduce our new regional immigration strategy and to speak to the importance of continual investment in immigration work across Waterloo Region.
Thank you, Ernest, and through you, Chair. We also have Ian McLean, if you hadn't noticed, joining us by Zoom this evening, the President and CEO of the Waterloo Region Chamber of Commerce, if you hadn't had familiarity with Ian yet. Thanks again for the time today. We included, as Ernest mentioned, in a package that was pre-delivered to you. And if you need to refer back to that, it's something I reference and indicate that you have. It is the new strategy that I'll speak briefly to right now. And it also includes a bit of the content and context that we're looking to provide you today to understand a little bit more about our work and ideally help you support that strategy, which is really one of our asks for today. So the strategy itself is grounded in and has leveraged the input of over 1,700 immigrants, urban and rural partner organizations, and the wider community. We, as many of us have, worked painstakingly on this new strategy at a time of challenge, at a time of significant immigration growth. As Ernest indicated, 10,000 individuals a year, and in the last year, 10,000 people came to our region specifically. One of the largest influxes of immigration that we've experienced up until now. It supports the strategy itself, many of the themes of, in fact, your own strategy, Wilmot's Pursuing Our Potential Together. Through our strategy, local partners will work together to help local services meet the needs of the changing population, help employers have the tools and resources that they need to leverage the skills of immigrants, and help our regional communities be increasingly welcome. Our work with the immigrants directly often happens particularly through our service providers, those 70 organizations and 120 volunteers that Ernest referred to a minute ago. So we have 4 shared priorities to guide our work. Those shared priorities are, as Ernest mentioned, information is power. So we are a gatherer of data. We gather insights, we gather significant amounts of data, we develop shared understanding of immigration and its ecosystem across the region. We share that information with governments, municipal, regional, local, rural, and we sometimes leverage that information, in fact, even to lobby for policymakers. We mobilize partners and community leaders to improve access to information and make changes to address the primary needs and integration of immigrants. We influence public, private, and nonprofit decision makers to change policy, as noted, and investments, and guide employers to actively improve immigrant employment specifically. And again, as Ernest mentioned, we're working right now with AGRA workers and in this community with employers, trying to help them determine strategies to be successful in working with AGRA workers as well. And then we build the IP in immigration partnerships organizational resilience through robust partner engagement, governance, and diversified funding. And the second thing we'll be talking to a little bit today about is a need for funding that the immigration partnerships finds itself or we're faced with right now in a way that we've never been faced with before. So let me speak a bit to that right now, our request to the township. So as the region grows, we hear and are speaking regionally now about 1 million people. And I don't think that's an unfamiliar number to any of us. There's significant growth. It happens currently. It will happen over the next several years. And we know the work continues to be socially and economically critical, that which we do. I'm a local business person. I appreciate the social context of immigration. I also significantly appreciate the economic context of immigration as well. It's important to us in many, many ways. The IP Council has been proactively working to seek out funding sources to address a significant $230,000 cut in funding annually.
1 minute remaining.
Thank you. To date, we're pleased to report that in addition to the existing support we get from the region of Waterloo and United Way, we've also secured $50,000 in new support from the KW Community Foundation. We're also making outreach to philanthropic organizations, businesses, and seeking more municipal and township investment in this work. We're asking that the Township of Wilmot firstly endorse the Immigration Partnership's new strategy, and secondly, that the Township strongly consider and approve an annual contribution of $5,000 in the collaborative work of the Immigration Partnership. Thank you for your time today, and we invite questions. Beyond my expertise today, we have many smart people behind me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osei and Tracy. Councillors, are there any questions at this time? Councillor Dunstall?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. Immigration has real human stories, and I respect that. My duty is to the residents of New Hamburg and Wilmot, and I hear from my constituents all the time that schooling and doctors and housing and hospitals are at their breaking point. And I can tell you that our taxpayers have been stretched to the limit, and that's why every single dollar counts for us, to the point where we're not using taxpayer money to help fund the Prime Minister's Path or even the Veterans Crosswalk. My focus is to be fiscally responsible and provide services for the residents that we have here now, and that includes the 10% of new immigrants that we've welcomed into our community. It's also my understanding that Waterloo Region contributes $50,000. I'm not sure you're aware, but our constituents, 56 cents of every dollar they send to us, we send to the region. So in essence, we are supporting this. So unfortunately, this time, until infrastructure and our core services catch up, I just simply cannot support this ask, but I'd like to thank you for your presentation and for the materials that you sent.
Any other?
If I might, I appreciate the comment, and you have a very difficult job. Immigration, this is the immigrants and newcomers are here. They're also the talent source for all of the businesses, many of the businesses in Waterloo Region. So, the federal government cutting the work of the Immigration Partnership, very short-sighted, particularly, and I recognize the challenges around all of those things, because at the Chamber of Commerce, we're certainly working on all those things. Healthcare, new hospital, transportation, transit, all of those issues, housing for sure. But there is still a responsibility for us to recognize that the future workforce of our community are newcomers to the country. So that's the context we were asking about. We recognize this is not an easy act, particularly in the financial circumstance that communities find and councils find themselves. On the other hand, there will be newcomers here, and it's important for them to have a sense of welcome or belonging and getting them settled and getting them jobs to make sure that they're productive and helping the economy grow here. So it's that context. I recognize it's not an easy balance to make, but I wanted to make that clear. This is a shared responsibility for the community as it exists right now and the community of the future.
Thank you for that, Ian, and I will just remind everyone we're not debating councillors or members of the group, but thank you very much for that added context. Councillor Cressman?
Yes, I read through this and I see the importance. I know the faith group that I belong to has sponsored 3 families, and you personally see the impact and you gain joy when you see 2 of them, and 2 of the children that came are now in university and doing and contributing to the community. Another family just bought their first home in Canada and currently working with another family. And I see the value of immigration and see the value. And I think we will have the opportunity to discuss the $5,000 funding during our budget deliberation, and I would say that's the appropriate place to have that discussion as compared to handling it this evening. But I see the ability to endorse the strategy as something that we could support, because I know what we have seen in terms of the families we have sponsored, to reach out to the organizations that can assist us in terms of helping these families get connected within Canada is crucial to their success. So thank you for your fine work.
Thank you.
Councillor Sadhu?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a quick comment to echo the comments from my fellow Councillor Cressman. I do thank you for the work you do. My parents were immigrants, so I see the importance, and I know the importance of helping immigrants when they come here and help them thrive. Being a small business owner, previously owning a small business, I see the need of immigrants to fill the gap of certain roles and jobs, the importance, and just it's not even the cities. Like, even if you look at small rural townships, there are more and more immigrants than before, and there is a need for a workforce to fill those gaps. So I do thank you for making that presentation tonight, and to echo Councillor Cressman's comments as far as the ask and the funding, that would be an appropriate time to go through a budget process, and we would see what we can do from there.
Thank you.
Councillor Martin?
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you for your presentation and appreciate the work that you do. I think it's important.
Thank you.
Okay. Not seeing any other comments or questions, so thank you again very much, Dr. Osei, Tracy, Ian, and the rest of the team who are all here in the gallery. We appreciate you both coming and sharing the documentation. Logistically speaking, so it would require a councillor to bring forward the motion. It would have to be 2/3 if they wanted to do it tonight. I'm kind of hearing consensus that there might be interest about the motion itself, but it'll probably come back at a later date. And as for the budget, I would look to staff that maybe that can be passed along as a consideration as our budget proceeds. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Have a great evening. On to the remainder of our agenda. So we do have a specific interest delegation, Mr. Wolf speaking to the Strategic Action Plan Quarterly Update. I will call on you at that point. I don't think I need to go through the regular rules. You're a regular here. So in terms of correspondence, it was circulated to council in advance. Did anybody want to pull that item? Seeing none, we do have 3 items on our consent agenda. Did anybody want to pull any of those items to discuss? Councillor Cressman?
Yes, I think the 10.1, I'd like to pull the monitoring wells.
Yep, you can speak to that.
So I went and identified where the locations were in our road allowances. I also note that there's one sitting in the road allowance abutting my second farm, and it's in a state of disrepair. Somebody hit it, or whether a snowplow caught it, and it could be potentially a opportunity for surface water to get into the groundwater. And so I don't know, do I contact, is it a Kitchener? Are they monitoring because it is close, relatively close to Mannheim, or do I contact GRCA? Or I'm trying to figure out who I reach out to on these road allowance monitoring.
I would look over to Director Vanderwall for that.
Through the mayor, if you give me the particulars of it, we will reach out to the GRCA and make sure they go out and repair what needs to be repaired.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments on that item, councillors? Seeing none, I'd look for a mover and a seconder for the consent agenda items. Moved by Councillor Wilkinson, seconded by Councillor Sadhu. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. On to our run report this evening, and that is the Strategic Action Plan Quarterly Update from our CAO. To get this on the floor, may I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Councillor Sadhu, and I will invite CAO Wilmer to introduce this report.
Thank you, Mayor Salonen. The Strategic Action Plan for Wilmot Township contains 39 action items, and this report is a quarterly update to give you a brief overview on the progress of staff's work on each of those action items. Of the 39, there are 8 with no progress at all, and so that is has been the focus of the report here, is to explain why that is. And of those 8, there's a reasonable explanation as to why it hasn't started yet for many of them. There is one, though, in particular that I wanted to draw attention to, and that the substance of the report really deals with the one matter that is of significant concern, because it's important and hasn't made much progress, and that is the asset management plan. Having a well-informed asset management plan is critical to the township's capital budgeting, both year by year and 10-year capital forecasting, and in terms of making sure that we have the reserves in the budget to deal with asset management and asset replacement. It is an area of significant concern, and so I don't want to sugarcoat this. There's significant work to be done on that, and so that's why this report seeks to draw some attention to that it's not something that we're comfortable with where we're at, and certainly need to make significant progress on that. In terms of the rest of the report, the detail is there in the spreadsheet to give you updates, and it's pretty limited detail. It is just an overview report, a simple update, but it's something that gives council and the community a bit of a sense as to how things are progressing on the 39 action items, and if there's specific questions that are raised based on this report, myself and staff are here to try to answer those questions.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Cressman.
Yes, I certainly appreciated the report and the second report that gave more detail, I guess. And referring to the asset management plan, the specific that caught my eye was the comprehensive comprehensive analysis of individual assets, which would inform the asset management plan in terms of the longevity of a given asset, an idea of its replacement, when the replacement will occur. So in being informed about KPMG providing services to the township, how do we marry what KPMG's task is with the asset valuation and expected life pieces of information? How will those be married, and who will be tasked with the critical piece of informing us about the asset longevity and their expected date of end of useful life? Through you, Mayor.
Thank you for the reminder. Through the mayor to Councillor Cressman. So the best that KPMG can do with the budget is work with the information that they have. And if that's going to be limited information going into the 26 budget, it's best estimates wherever those are possible. I do want to make a distinction, and that the report, I think, does address this to a certain degree, that our building assets and recreational infrastructure, those actually we do have a pretty good handle on those. It's the linear assets, so our water, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, those are the assets that are of most concern in terms of the lack of detail about their quality, their longevity, the replacement cycle, and so on. So in that regard, Director Vanderwall is on top of it in terms of needing to, or knowing what needs to be done, but it's going to take some time to do it, and the support of council in order to fund that important work.
Councillor Wilkinson?
Thank you. Through the chair, essentially a follow-up on that topic. It mentions that there's probably financial needs and studies associated with understanding what those linear assets require and what state they're in. So I guess my question is are we going to see potential forecasting for that in the budget? What could the potential cost of these studies be? And then at the same time, there was also mention that we're not currently in compliance with provincial regulations or expectations in terms of filing here. So do we face any penalties from the province right now? Like, how serious is this not being in compliance with them?
So through the mayor, I would look to Director Vanderwall for the details on those specific questions.
So through the mayor, I can answer the first portion of that in terms of the costs, the associated studies. We have already initiated a stormwater master study that I believe was passed for this year that is going through. Last year we presented some of the stuff for the infiltration and inflow for the sanitary sewers. There was significant budget allocation for continuing the investigation in our sanitary sewers. We are working with staff right now to compile and compare all the assets together. So we also had our pavement condition index study. All of those are getting layered together to see what projects need to come forward. We will be presenting for a master water servicing study. I'd have to look through the budget when we were looking for that coming through, but to understand better our overall municipal water system. So staff are working through layering these together to get a better idea of when all the replacements are and the life cycle, and trying to time them better. I'm sorry, I can't answer the financial component. I will have to pass that off to Director O'Krafka.
Through you, Mayor Salmon, to Councillor Wilkinson. What I can add to that is we do have PSD, Public Service Digest, on a contract as well to address 2024 and 2025 compliance for asset management plans. So that contract had begun but has paused pending the hiring of the new treasurer, who will work closely with them, with Director Vanderwall and KPMG as well, ultimately in the long-term financial planning that they'll be doing. So we do envision that the work will begin rapidly, and there is resources there that have been contracted. So I don't have specific answers, but we are addressing the matters.
Councillor Cressman?
Yes, through you, Mayor, as a follow-up, in terms of I hate to say the different buckets, but we have linear or underground, we have roads, we have rolling stock, and we have buildings. And so I would say, do either of those assets get prioritized in certain ways? I guess you can always rent or lease a vehicle if you need it, but it's pretty hard to lease a sewer when you really need it. And I really like to hear that you're on top of it. Hopefully you're getting information from down below on how they're working. But anyhow, I guess what I'm saying is, do each one score differently in terms of how we have to get answers, and we can kind of shove some to the background and move others forward to a higher priority?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Cressman, yes. All infrastructure is critical, but some is more critical than others. So certainly water, sewer, sanitary and storm sewer are not only are they critical, but they're the ones where the data are least reliable now. So those are certainly our priorities.
Any other questions at this time, councillors? Just want to make sure, Councillor Dunstall, you were frozen for a moment. Did you want to chime in at all? No? Okay. Councillor Wilkinson?
Thank you. Through the chair, I guess a question just on procedure here. I don't know how deep we want to dig into this report. I'm prepared to discuss specific items. I don't know if that's appropriate for this evening, or if that's anticipated to happen perhaps after a delegation, or did you want that to maybe take place now?
Up to you on your preference. As you did note, we do have a delegate on this topic, but okay, you would rather wait for your question then? It's up to you. Okay. So seeing no other questions then at the moment, I will call on our registered delegate for this evening, and that is Mr. Barry Wolf. As you know, Barry, you will have up to 7 minutes. Thank you.
I'll try. I was successful last time. I'm here with two goals: to complement some actions of staff under the leadership of the new CAO, Jeff Wilmer, and of course I've got my usual observations and suggestions. Thank you, Jeff, and your team for your lead on the strategic plan update. This report is a first step toward taking that static chart that the consultant provided and moving it toward a tracking chart. However, we both acknowledge that this is no way the online dashboard framework that the township originally contracted for and did not get for its money. This does not yet provide the online ability for staff to update progress and for council and the community to track every work plan action item as it occurs in real time. The RFP 2023-23 required that the development of an online dashboard framework to assist the township in tracking its strategic plan implementation while sharing those updates in real time with the community. Wilmot knew what it wanted, but unfortunately didn't get it. There we go. This is what we got. The contracted strategic plan ended up delivering a chart that could have been drawn, in my opinion, with a pencil, ruler, color markers, and a word processor by a grade 7 student, but it's a static paper roadmap. You point your finger at the point, you point at another point on the map, and you try to follow a link. This is ancient technology. Once it's printed, it's out of date. It does not reflect any ongoing real-time changes of immediate things that occur. What we have here in this update report is still a static chart, but it's an interim step towards online, real-time action tracking for the information of staff, council, and the community to eventually provide feedback. This update is more detailed in its headings and thus opportunities to provide more detailed data. I draw your attention to a suggestion. I've just sort of replicated what Jeff has provided. I'm suggesting that you add a subcell in the final column. So it says completed. I just made that up. Some contract was approved by council. The target date was Q1, and it's in progress. I'm suggesting that this can be updated regularly, and if you put the as of date is, you know, what was the most recent revision? So what's the current status? This would be another step toward an online dashboard framework. Nope, you're gone too far. There we go. I'm suggesting that this could eventually be made interactive by making cells clickable. So the user could click on that, and it would take us to another page, which would give us more background detail about what was the contract and details. So if you make it interactive that way, and there's lots of trackers commercially available through rightKey.com, Monday.com, Zoho, whatever, there's lots of those. So this is just a screenshot from an SEO document that would make the, when your IT gurus, your webmaster is working on this, you put in the SEO descriptors so that when you're going to a link, you'll find it pretty quickly. A second topic is a well done to Jeff and his corporate leadership team regarding significantly improved changes to the township's website. There are more links to documents that are starting to appear on the site. If one searches Wilmot Township Council, for example, the landing page is very well laid out. The column of options on the right side is listed alphabetically and takes one to pages specific to that topic. My personal opinion, because of its importance, I suggested the heading, which presently reads Direction Action Tracker, which is the blue sheets you've got, be formatted as a clickable button. So that would highlight it to people, and it would take it to really critical, important things that are going on here that we haven't had access to information before, in my opinion, very well. I suggested that strategic plan be also added to the drop-down menu list. It does not exist there yet this time. The site is much improved. Good work, all. I'm suggesting that the council consider the motion, the recommendation before it, and it's that it be received for information. I'm suggesting that council add some direction to this. That the CAO will ensure that the 4 pages of the attached strategic action tracker be added to the township website page titled Strategic Plan, so that it becomes actioned to the community in real time, and it could be updated and people will see it as it changes. I look forward to the time when the township's IT webmaster team creates a page dedicated to Wilmot Township Policy Manual. You've heard me asking for this over and over again. It could be alphabetical, we could sort it, and be access to all the policies that exist. In conclusion, look at that, I got a minute to go. Hold on. In conclusion, I say thank you, Jeff, and through him to his corporate leadership team and all staff. Quite honestly, I've been looking forward to a change in corporate culture through honesty, transparency, fulsome release of information, and quiet confidence in the senior staff leadership position. Trust is not given. It's like a close friendship. It's earned by every decision, every action, every minute of every day. In my opinion, we're off to a good start. Let's keep moving together. Thank you.
I'm impressed, Barry. That's twice in a row now that you've had time to spare.
I can direct you to some comments, but anyway.
Thank you. And I do just want to make note, as you keep on talking about our web guru, we have to give credit to our communications expert, Brett, who has been grueling over getting the new web page done for the better part of this year. So
I would have included the name, but I didn't have it. Thank you for doing that.
That's all good. That's why I wanted to let you know. Any questions for our delegate councillors? Okay, seeing none at this. Oh, sorry, Councillor Cressman.
Yes, I would, through you, Mayor, I would suggest you have some very good suggestions I'm a fan of clickable downloads and not being fast with my fingers. I like one click as compared to trying to type a search query. So I'd like that idea.
It's called buttons.
Thank you, Barry. Councillors, was there further discussion then on this item? Councillor Wilkinson?
Thank you. Through the chair. I don't want to draw this out too much. I simply had some observations and maybe some comments regarding this chart. I would agree and concur with our delegate as well as my peers here that we are taking excellent steps forward and have made some significant progress. And I recognize that there are a few items on here as well that just simply are not achievable without a treasurer employed and someone, well, we have a treasurer, but someone who is dedicated in that particular discipline. I did have one comment I would add, and that is maybe just to highlight to our web services team as well as community services. The Community Services Master Plan is mentioned a few times, but it's not easily found on the website. I had to go back to the October, November meetings from last year to pull the final document that was approved. So that would be one thing I would suggest we could add. And if it's okay, I can continue. I've made a few notes. Yeah, okay. Item 3.2A was listed and talked about community improvement plan. And I was just curious that that has been mentioned to be potentially included in the new official plan. However, I'm curious how that will be tied in with the upcoming budget as well, given that a community improvement plan would probably involve some sort of incentive program that could affect our budget. So I was just wondering what the relationship will be there, given that neither is done at this point.
Thank you, through Mayor Solomon. So I don't anticipate that there will be a budget ask for 2026. So the policy framework that derives, what we utilize that for, how we utilize it, would be embedded in the official plan. There's current provincial legislation that's changing who can do what when it comes to CIPs. So we're also reviewing that. So the answer is I don't know where that's going to be in terms of a budget ask, but I can say that it's not something that we anticipate in 2026, given the OP won't be completed or not planned to be completed until the end of the year.
Any other questions or comments at this time, councillors? We'll go to Councillor Cressman and then back to Councillor Wilkinson.
Yes, through you, Mayor. I was looking at the service review, and it looks like it's going to be completed in Q4 of this year. And I'm just trying to, or just seeing if we're online to get that completed, and there will be a full report to council on it at that time. That's correct, I guess. Maybe it's a statement rather than a question.
That is correct. Through you, Mayor Salonen, to Councillor Cressman. We envision the current state report to be presented to this council at the November council meeting. They are on track. They're working towards future states as well, which would be subsequent reports to council. But as the first update report in a public forum, the Strategy Corp consultants will be here again November 24th to present the current state to you.
And I will just add in, the work that they're doing is feeding into KPMG doing the budget, if that was a question on anyone's mind.
Just a quick one on that through you, Mayor. It's a fixed contract as compared to a time and material that they have a specific that they've agreed to and will complete their work in that time frame and dollar figure. Okay, that's all I wanted to.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm looking at items 3.2B and 3.2C, which I know were tied to a request for a full-time equivalent last year for an economic development officer. I know we didn't approve this last year. However, I'm anticipating that the service delivery review may identify areas of opportunity that would allow us to potentially add this headcount in the future. My question is more so in the upcoming budget, can we, one, anticipate this ask to potentially come forward again? However, two, if I can maybe ask a request of the team that does bring this forward, can we see some sort of analysis or justification to suggest what the return on investment would be for this position? I think that would be valuable to the community to suggest that if we need to add someone to perform these particular functions, which I would agree are strategic in nature and beneficial, but can we just show what the return of value would be? Is that potentially agreeable?
So through the Mayor to Councillor Wilkinson, first of all, just for those viewing online, we should probably explain what those items are. So 3.2B is to attract jobs and investment by introducing an economic development officer position, and 3.2C to complete an economic development strategy, recommending actions to support existing businesses and attract new investment and jobs. So yes, to the second part of your question, if that's going to come back, we would certainly want to explain that with a sort of a cost-benefit analysis, what we're investing, what our partners are providing in terms of the Regional Economic Development Corporation, and now Waterloo Region also having a role in economic development, which they didn't always have. So yes, we plan to do that.
And also, again, for additional context, that was one of the common themes that came out of the councillor pre-budget meetings, was to see a potential for an economic development officer. So you will be seeing that returning as a potential for the budget as we continue to discuss. Any other questions or Councillor Wilkinson?
Thank you. Through the chair, I promise I'm trying to get this done. I realize that there's a significant event occurring this evening. Item 4.1B, which is complete a communication strategy that establishes community engagement priorities and whatnot. I noted that there's a refresh underway. This is something I wanted to maybe highlight and bring back. We had actually received a presentation early on in our term, and we never really saw a final result or a final report filed. So I'm curious if you could just explain maybe what you mean by refresh and what we can anticipate coming forward. Is it sort of a repackaging of the existing work, or are we asking for more work at this point?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Wilkinson, you're right, there was work done by Red Brick Consulting and presented to Council earlier in its term. And I don't recall off the top exactly where that finished up, but the Mayor knows. Maybe we go there first and then I can finish up.
So yes, Red Brick was contracted before this term of council. We did get the report back pretty early on in our term, but it was for information, and it was pending that the manager of communications and strategic initiatives was to bring back the finalized version for council approval, which that never came to fruition. So now we are at the point that CIO Wilmer is talking about.
And so because the work that Red Brick has done is somewhat dated now, we approached them to find out what would it take to give it a minor update. It's not really a repackaging, but is there anything in there that was relevant at the time that isn't relevant now, or something that he's emerged subsequently that's overlooked in that? And we were impressed that they were willing and able to do it at quite a reasonable cost. And so that is something we do expect early in the new year.
Yes, Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. Through the chair, I promise I think there's two more items. Item 4.1D, which talks about the web-based performance dashboard. I want to say we probably discussed this already this evening. There are some significant improvements with links to documentation, which is excellent. I recall there was conversation, and I'd be curious to know if my colleagues potentially have interest, but looking at potentially documenting council resolutions going back maybe to the beginning of our term and potentially into the second half of last term. I know that there was a significant number of items that came forward, but it is difficult to find that information, being that a lot of it is buried in meeting minutes and maybe isn't necessarily trackable or readily available. So more so just a comment on that and potentially something we revisit in the future, but expanding on a tracking dashboard. So maybe looking at upcoming policy reviews, looking at past council resolutions, the tracking of the stat plan, and just continue to expand upon that. So I say excellent work so far. Would like to see further if we can. No comments required on that. And last thing I would just add, was 4.2D, which was talking about a space needs review and talking about options to accommodate future growth. I noted that it was mentioned to be in progress. I'm just wondering if it would be prudent to pause that until we get a completed service delivery review. So that would be my only comment on that piece. Otherwise, I really do appreciate the quarterly report. Thank you.
I think that has all been noted. Any other comments or questions on this report, councillors? Councillor Dunstall.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just wanted to, I don't remember, when is the service delivery report scheduled to be delivered?
Do you want?
Through Mayor Sallin to Councillor Dunstall. The first report being the current state report will come to council on November 24th. They are working at future state reports already, so that timeline-wise, they don't have to wait till that one is done, but they will be reporting back to you in November, and then subsequently, possibly in December or early January, but their work is ongoing and on time.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I will call the vote to receive this for information. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. The recommendation is that our bylaws attached be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council. May I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. All those in favor? That carries unanimously. There are no notices of motion this evening. I do have a few announcements. I wanted to note that this Friday, October 31st at 10 a.m., we'll be raising the poppy flag in acknowledgement of Remembrance Day, and that will be at the Township Administrative Building. If you do want to come to that, it's welcome to all members of the community, and the Legion will also be present. Please just be sure to note that you need to enter off of Wagler Avenue if you would like to park in the admin building. If you would like to come, is it 10 a.m.? Yeah, so that's this Friday at 10 a.m. Before that, this Thursday, October 30th, from 6:30 until 8, in front of the castle, we'll be having Halloween ghost stories around fire. So please do bring a chair, bring some nice warm clothes, and come around for some ghost stories with the community. I did also want to note that Engage Rural, which I believe was mentioned actually by one of our delegates today, have now launched a website. So do be sure to check it out. It's engagedrural.ca, and in case you don't know what that organization is, it's a collaborative of 8 health and social service agencies providing services to residents in all of the townships of Waterloo Region, and it's some really great services that they have that you may already be tapped into or that may be of use. I did also want to note, which again it was referenced, we have employed KPMG to provide the 2026 budget and a long-term financial plan. This is at no additional cost to the taxpayer due to utilizing some savings from vacancies in positions over the past year. And I did also want to note that soon you will be hearing updated timelines for the budget process. But with that, I can make note that on November the 10th, there will be a council public pre-budget consultation for the community. So more details will be coming, but did want to just get that into people's calendars. And for anyone wondering, it was already one of our tentative held dates in our calendars for a possible budget meeting. And I did, of course, want to send best wishes to the Toronto Blue Jays as they continue on in the World Series. Any other announcements, councillors? Okay, seeing none, we do have our confirmatory bylaw. I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Sadhu, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. All those in favour, carries unanimously. And an adjournment. Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Councillor Sadhu. All those in favour, that carries unanimously. Have a great evening.